up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of 305 Takes. Me and Miles are back for you guys following week one of the NFL season, and we are so happy to be back for this because we both love football. We both have a lot of hopes and aspirations this year for the NFL season, not only in fantasy, but for our teams, players that we like coming out of the draft and everything. But it is so good to finally talk about some football instead of giving predictions because last week I could probably say, Miles, one of your best bets. There was only one that was like, I looked at it, I was like, oh, this is bad. It was the anytime Pacheco touchdown.
Yeah, that had no shot at happening.
Yeah,
And I mean, we would have had this Eagles Patriots if the Eagles offense wasn't still terrible. I mean, if the Patriots offense wasn't so terrible still. Just missed out on that one. But that Raiders one, I mean, we're gonna get to it later, but this guy Russell Wilson, man,
he's bad.
Jeez Louise.
Oh man. Well, but let's get started. Week one, and I think we got to start off with our hometown team, and this team is very close and near dear to Miles's heart. The Miami Dolphins, who escaped Los Angeles with a win by 2 points. They won the game. It was a really close game. I texted Miles a couple of times during this because I just felt maybe he was just nervous throughout the whole time. But man, that was a great game. Great game.
I mean, early contender for game of the year so far in this NFL season, and especially considering that it was week one, it was pretty much everything you could ask for in a football game. And you know, as a Dolphins fan, and there's so many things that you can talk about in this game, but I still can't get over that last touchdown, the one that ended up being the game winner that Tua threw to Tyreek. Because one, I don't understand how he put that ball in that spot with that defender's
so
entire
perfect.
body and helmet in the way. And then two, I don't know how Tyreek catches that. No bobble, no anything. Like, nope, it's just here.
It was the perfect pass. Like Tua threaded the needle perfectly.
Like, talk about an absolute dime. And I mean, you just look at the stats in this game. Like, this is one of the craziest games you'll ever see. So let's just run through it real quick. The Dolphins ran 65 offensive plays. They gained 536 yards on those 65 plays for 8.2 yards per play in this game. Scored 4 touchdowns. Were 3 for 3 on field goals. Still had two turnovers, with the one being Tua throwing one in that end zone and then stalling out that first drive, which, as a Dolphins fan, you're like, oh, of course, we have this nice drive. We fumble right before we can punch it in. Now Herbert's going to get on the field, and of course they go right down the field and score. But I was concerned going into this one because we didn't have Tyron Armstead. I saw the 2 fumbles on the opening drive. The first one they were able to recover, and then unfortunately they gave up the ball right before the goal line. But they gave up 0 sacks in the game.
Yeah,
0 sacks, and that's with Bosa and Khalil Mack on the other side, and Brandon Staley, who's supposed to be this defensive guru, which is the reason he got this Chargers job. And what did his defense do? Give up 536 total yards of offense and 466 passing yards for one Tua Tagovailoa. 466 passing yards.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. There's a couple of things I took away from this game. I thought this year the Dolphins defense was going to be so much better with under Vic Fangio. But man, bro, like I didn't see any improvement because, bro, the Chargers, for anyone who doesn't know, the Chargers ran the ball for over 200 yards and still lost this game. Like that's the only thing I would be concerned about, is that I don't know if the Dolphins can stop the run or just the Chargers were that good. But no, I will say how Miles talked about it. This game almost had everything. You had, I think it was 6 lead changes in this game.
6 or 7.
Yeah, 6 or 7. They were just switching back and forth. And I do like how the Dolphins responded to adversity overall, because whenever the Chargers had a big play or momentum was going their way, the Dolphins went right back down the field and were able to at least maintain it or at least take momentum for themselves. But the biggest play of the game, I don't think anyone talked about, was right before halftime.
Bro, dumbest thing I've seen.
Yeah, right before halftime. Tua throws a deep ball. And J.C. Jackson, who is a Pro Bowler corner that the Chargers signed for a lot of big money,
yeah.
He commits a pass interference, and the Dolphins end up getting a field goal the last play before the first half.
Yeah, with 0 time left on the clock too, which
Yep.
is like the trickiest part about the whole thing because you can only run a play with 0 time left on the clock if the defense commits the
Penalty.
penalty. And I mean, the play right before where they set it up, where Tua hits Waddle in stride, they get 22 yards on that.
Yep.
After that play, finishes up, the next snap comes with 2 seconds left on the clock, and I don't even get why J.C. Jackson pushed him down because he wasn't throwing the ball to the end zone. So even if he gives up the
You could have just
completion, as
tackled
long as
him.
you just tackle him,
You're
nothing's
fine.
going to happen.
Yeah, and you end up losing the game by 2. The Dolphins going to halftime up by 3.
Yeah,
That is the
it was one of the most bonehead plays that we'll see, especially from a guy that we consider good, and it being week 1.
week 1.
Like, I
Like,
don't understand. It wasn't like it was some undrafted kid who got confused and like, okay, maybe it wasn't. But he pushed him with 2 hands in the back. That's the part I don't understand. Maybe he thought like no one was gonna see. He thought
when
more
there's
people were
only
gonna be down
you,
there.
when there's like 4 Chargers players and 1 Dolphins player in that one
Yeah,
like 5-yard like separation.
yeah. I could get if it was like, okay, there's 4 receivers. This is gonna be a jump ball to see who can win it to end, end the half. But when it's just you and that guy down there and you just push him right in the back, it was insane. But that was definitely one of the most pivotal plays. Of course, because it can't be anything else with the Dolphins. We score that beautiful last touchdown and missed the extra point. Of course, that's the most Dolphins thing ever. But like you said, I mean, I came away with 2 takeaways on the defense. Man, how nice would it be if we had Jalen Ramsey?
It would be nice because at least
How
the pass
nice would it
coverage
be?
would be smarter and there wouldn't be that many plays because, bro, Xavier Howard got picked on a lot. He
Exactly.
got
I was
picked
gonna
on.
say, Angel texted me during this one and said X is having a pretty rough game going out there, and it wasn't his best effort. I mean, I don't think he was necessarily bad. He was just definitely getting picked on more than we're accustomed to. So throughout it, I was like, damn, like you can see exactly where Jalen Ramsey fits into this puzzle, even while considering that it's defense, and usually we don't see those weaknesses like that, but they made the play at the end, and that's all you can really ask for. And they were honestly bailed out by Herbert, uh, using that intentional grounding, so it made it 2nd and 20, and the defensive line could just pin their ears back. But I was super impressed that they were able to make that play at the end because as soon as I saw that missed extra point, I was like, of course, we're going to score that touchdown. It's going to be beautiful. No one's going to know about it because Herbert's going to get the ball back right now, bleed
And
him
they're going
down
to
to
get the
field goal
game time
range,
field
and they'll win by
goal.
1 point.
Yeah.
And that's all I was thinking about. But finally, after not making many plays all game, the defense was able to make a play and get us off the field. And 1-0, man. I can't believe it. And especially when you look at how hyped last year's Chargers Dolphins game was, playing in LA again, and not putting up the best performance, only scoring the offensive touchdown on that Tyreek Hill fumble and a scoop and score last year, and then to just be able to consistently drive the ball down the field on this
It was
Chargers
a much,
defense
much better outcome for the
with
Dolphins this
your
year.
with your left tackle out and still not giving up a sack. It was an impressive game to keep battling back, not getting too far down. I loved everything I saw about the Dolphins. Defense, we'll worry about, similar to last year when we had the crazy comeback against the Ravens, and we were like, it's great that we came back, but geez Louise, our defense was getting shredded apart. But I'll take the W for now. We'll figure it out down the road.
Yeah, as you got the win. That's all that really matters at the end of the day. Did you get the win? And then if you lost, you have to look at, okay, how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? And credit to the Dolphins, like how I said, last year they did have a couple of these wins, and last year there were a couple of games where the Dolphins blew up in front of their face like this. So it was good to see that they were able to overcome adversity. But now I think we could change points and move to a team that essentially dominated from start to finish. And bro, I've seen some other networks, they talked about it a little bit, but not as much. Bro, how good are the 49ers?
Listen, I I think I don't even really understand it because I was a little bit lower on them coming into this year because their quarterback got Tommy John surgery, bro. And they won their first game with the quarterback with Tommy John surgery 30-7 on the road. I mean, they honestly have to be the best team because I actually thought the Steelers might be improved this year. I thought this might be a sneaky
Same,
Steelers
bro.
win. And if you saw the betting line, it went from San Francisco -3 to before the game it was -1 Pittsburgh. I was like, what the heck is going on? Obviously, Vegas knows something, but San Francisco came in there and laid that smackdown. Those screenshots that were floating around on Twitter where it was like 199 passing yards
A
for the
1 yard.
49ers to 1 for the
Oh my.
Pittsburgh Steelers. It was they dominated that game, and like obviously I wanted to see how Brock Purdy looked because the last time we saw him he got injured and Christian McCaffrey finished that game as the quarterback, but they absolutely dominated. They were Kenny Pickett did not look good. I thought we were going to maybe see an improvement there from them, but McCaffrey still looked fresh. I know it's early in the season, so he should look fresh. But I was just most surprised with Purdy. 19 to 29, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's basically what they're going to ask him to do every game, and if he can do that first game back from injury, I mean, it's damn impressive. And that's with Bosa just coming back a couple of days ago after signing the contract. So we'll see as he gets back into playing shape because he only had 2 tackles on the game
But
and one
still, I
tackle for
mean, his
loss.
presence there was just
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
So I'm man, like you said, bro. I have to think they're the best team after week one. Obviously, it's an overreaction because it is only week one, but man, they looked so good. And not that to say Pittsburgh is bad or anything. I actually think Pittsburgh has a very, very solid offense because they have George Pickens, who I like. They have Deontay Johnson, who is a good run after the catch. You have Fryermuth, who I liked coming out. He had a really good stretch at the end of last year. Kenny Pickett improved last year throughout the season.
They
You have,
drafted Washington from Georgia to be their other tight end, who's a huge human
yep.
being.
You also have Najee Harris, who not long ago was Rookie of the Year, and one of the, like we could say, a top 10
Yeah,
running
but
back.
he
Yeah,
might be a little trash, bro.
yeah, that it was really bad yesterday. And then they also have Warren, who is not a bad backup. I like
I
Warren.
got him in a couple of leagues because I think, unfortunately for our boy Najee, his best years as a running back
Was his first year.
or for free at University of Alabama.
Yeah.
That
So
that that's the part that hurts me about these running backs is that they honestly might have peaked when they were playing for free.
that it could be, but thankfully now some of them are getting paid. But I feel like 49ers just outplayed them simply, and they were just better. I don't think Pittsburgh was bad in any way, shape, or form. Yes, they played bad, but I feel like they played such a superior team that it was not going to be good for them because Brock Purdy, they moved down the field pretty easily and then hit Brandon Ayuk for multiple touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey had that big touchdown. They were able to convert on third down really well. And they were just getting first down after first down after first down. So I do want to credit a lot to the 49ers because they played really well and they made a big statement, like saying, hey, everyone had high hopes for this team in Pittsburgh. Well, guess what? We're going to shoot it dead. Like it was done. Credit to them because I feel like outside of the Cowboys, that was probably the most impressive performance we've seen so far in week one. And that's with us not even talking about the Monday night game coming up.
Yeah, I mean, this performance to go on the road, like I said, having questions about how healthy the quarterback will be. You had a pretty lengthy
And them
contract
questioning
dispute.
whether or not they made the right choice between him and Trey Lance.
Yeah, and knowing that Sam Darnold is going to be that backup, and I think we all assume that we'll see him at some point just because that 49ers quarterback position has been cursed the last couple of years. And, if you've watched football the last few seasons, I don't think anybody is confident that Sam Darnold's going to come in here and save anybody's season.
He's
But
going to light it up.
yeah, so I think it was a very impressive win just from that standpoint. And I asked a couple episodes ago, how does Kyle Shanahan escape criticism for this whole Trey Lance debacle? But when you open up the season with even more question marks and having some people asking why aren't you getting heat for basically wasting the third overall pick in the draft, and you go out here and you beat a team that I think some people thought could be a playoff team. It definitely wouldn't have been a surprise to me if they were a playoff team, and beat them on the road at a place that's very that's a good home crowd, a good home field advantage for them, and they didn't have any problems at all. The game was never even a risk, and I think they're the best team in the NFL right now. And I'm not trying to overreact after one game, but we've seen what they've done the last few seasons, going to the Super Bowl, having Garoppolo, having backup quarterbacks. It doesn't matter. Now this year they finally have an implanted starter, and it's scary out there. It's scary, and they're in the weaker side of the division, so I don't even think they have to be peaking consistently to stay the number one seed and have the easier path through the NFL
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah, no, I'm 1000% with you there. I mean, man, it was just quite unreal to see that. And this is with us both watching that Sunday night, honestly, debacle from how just I texted Myles at some point in the second quarter and I just said, bro, it's over.
It's over. Yeah, I saw that text and I was like, yeah,
It's over. Like
it's over.
and no, this is like with us saying, man, maybe like could it happen? But
Well, I mean, I just thought that the Giants had
it'd
to
be
score
better.
opening day. Like you have to score in front
Yeah.
of your home fans.
We
It's
just
opening day at home.
it was like the perfect me and Miles were in sync in our text. We were just like, man, they started off the first drive so well. They're moving down the field. Everything's going right. They're getting first downs. They're getting chunk plays. Once that bad snap happened to Daniel Jones, he got sacked, and the block punt, everything just immediately went
The
downhill.
block was so bad, and Noah Igbenogany scored that he died. But it was just so bad. And shout out to anybody that had that Dallas defense.
Yeah, you know who had that in our
fantasy.
league? Edwin had the Dallas Cowboys defense in our league. And for anyone who doesn't know, Edwin, shout out to Edwin. Bro, his team was the best team overall this weekend. He scored 165 points.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, 20 points. Bijan Robinson, 20 points. Javonte Williams gave him 9.7. Calvin Ridley, 24.1. Michael Thomas, 11.1. George Kittle, the only bad one, 4.9. Michael Pittman, 23.7. Juju, 7.3. The Cowboys defense, 36 points, and Harrison Butker at 8. Like, that's unreal. That is unreal. So he had the Cowboys defense, and like Miles said, credit to anyone who started them. Because, bro, you won't believe this. I almost would have had that Dallas Cowboys defense because after the draft, Edwin reached out to me and he was like, hey, man, I want the Saints defense. And I was like, we tried to work something out. It was just not going anywhere really fast because it was right after the draft. But I was like, we'll talk after week 1. And then he was like, straight up, defense for defense. I'll give you the Cowboys. You give me the Saints. We swap. Bro, I folded on that one. That one's going to haunt me. If the Dallas Cowboys defense is like top 5 this year, I know that this trade that I missed out on will haunt me.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough, definitely.
But we can move on from talking about arguably one of the 2 best teams in all of football. We got to talk about some of the biggest disappointments. I'm pretty sure you have one. I have one for sure, but I don't know if we're on the same page. But you can with yours.
I mean, outside of the 2 teams that we just discussed, and the Steelers and the Giants, I mean, the biggest disappointment to me has to be Cleveland. I mean, Cincinnati.
I was right there with you, bro. Cincinnati.
That has to be the biggest disappointment. I mean, they look absolutely washed out there to have 3 points scored, and I get that it's an interdivision rivalry, but for Jamar Chase to be calling the other team elves before the game,
and then you put up a performance like that,
and to have your franchise quarterback who just signed this massive extension right before the start of the season, and he's not even playing in the fourth quarter in the first game of the year is pretty crazy. And I don't think this Browns team is all that great. I think that they do match up pretty well with Cincinnati. They've beaten them a couple times in a row now, but Deshaun didn't even play that great. I mean, Nick Chubb still got 100 yards, didn't get a touchdown, but still, I think it was just a terrible, terrible performance from the Cincinnati Bengals, and I don't even know what you really make of it.
Yeah,
Joe Burrow went 14 for 31 for 82 yards and no touchdowns.
Yeah, it was a bad day at the office for the Bengals, and honestly, to say that it was a bad performance was pretty bad. I was just kind of shocked by it, and like you said, the Cleveland Browns do match up really well against them. For some reason, they have their number. Like out of the last 5 games, Cleveland has won 4 times, so much credit to Cleveland. We are going to give them their flowers because, man, they put the Bengals in a bad spot entering week 1, but we'll see from there. Uh, right now, we'll just get to a couple of more things about the Bengals. I'm going to
They had
quickly
54
reach out to
offensive
Myles. We
plays for
just lost him.
142 yards. They averaged 2.6 yards per play.
Don't worry, guys. I'm all right. Just send Myles a message. He's going to try to join back in very quickly with us, but we will. I will continue on. I just feel like the Bengals, man, they've that was bad. That was a very bad performance by them. I wish they could have done something different. Um, offensively, man, they were bad. Defensively, they were solid because, like Myles said before, Deshaun wasn't that good. Nick Chubb did his thing. Amari Cooper, I felt like he was kind of non-existent. And the biggest thing with Cleveland, I just felt like their game plan on offense wasn't that great, but they still got the win at the end of the day, which is more than I can say because I wouldn't have gotten it. And we got Myles back. Myles, I was just saying like how you talked about with Deshaun, he didn't play all that great. Nick Chubb, he got his carries, he got his yards, but Amari Cooper was kind of non-existent in this game, mainly because quarterback play wasn't that great. But we have to give the Browns their credit because at the end of the day, they did win the game, which is
Well, they held the Cincinnati had 54 offensive plays for 142 yards. They
yeah,
averaged 2.6 yards per play.
that was terrible. So I do wish that now the Bengals um kind of played their starters in preseason because that was awful. Like that for resting your starters, you kind of see the rust that they have now, and especially with these high expectations that a lot of people have for them. To me, this was their last year to really be Super Bowl contenders because I feel like there are other teams that are positioned well to do this, considering that the Bengals finally opened up their wallet and they paid Joe Burrow. They're going to have to pay Jamar Chase. If they want to keep T. Higgins, they're going to have to pay him. How are you going to pay for an offensive line to protect Joe Burrow? And then how are you going to have money to at least have a comparable defense out there that can at least win you and get you those stops in the playoffs? So I feel like this is their last year to really contend. But I was so disappointed in Bengals. Like if the Bengals didn't play this bad, my biggest disappointment was going to be Russ.
Yeah, I mean, but just to have 3 points like this,
That's
especially
bad.
especially from a team that we have some type of expectations for. I mean, I guess you can just really throw this one out and try to move on from there. But it was just a really really strange game. I mean, even from the Browns' perspective, like you said, Amari Cooper only 3 receptions, 37 yards. I get that. At the end of the game, it was decided, and the Bengals really waved the white flag, and the Browns were just like happy to run the ball, and take the time off the clock. But it was a strange game. Jamar Chase had 9 targets, came down with 5 receptions, 39 yards. Tyler Boyd only 2 receptions for 10. T. Higgins had 8 targets and 0 receptions.
Catches. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a very 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 strange game, and we'll see what happens because they both are in the AFC North. So we do know that we will get this matchup one more time, and it will be in Cincinnati later in the year when we do get it. So we'll see if Cincinnati can avenge this loss. But to come out like this and perform that badly, I understand that Burrow did get hurt early in minicamp, so he didn't really, might be still some rust that he's shaking off there, but just the optics of it are very bad, especially for a team that we have really high expectations for. Their quarterback just got a massive extension right before the season started, and then they lose by 21 points to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, that's bad. That is very bad. So I do wish we could have seen some better football out of their end, but it happens. This is also week 1. This is where you test out plays, see if they work or not, because you could test them out in practice and they could work, but also when you run them in a game, it could just be terrible. We've had
And
the
now
Dallas,
with guys not playing as much in the preseason, we do
yeah,
definitely see some more rust than we had in the past when a lot of
yeah,
these guys were playing in the preseason, or at least getting some action in the preseason.
yeah, because you figured they would prioritize this, but like at the end of the day, we're not the coach, we're not the GM, we're not the players, so they do what they want. We're just innocent bystanders trying to just
Yeah, but we can
give
laugh
our
at
take.
you when you only put up 3 points in a game.
Yeah, that's bad. That
Yeah,
is so bad.
yeah.
But we will talk about one more thing before we hit the Monday night game, and we got some fantasy news. So this week in our league, I played Jacob Moya, and I texted him yesterday after most of the games. He kind of told me like his team laid an egg, and they did. The final score as of now is 117-95. I still have one player left to play. He doesn't have anyone left, and I have Stephon Diggs. And then on Miles's end, the rematch of the championship game is pretty much concluded at this point, where Nick ended up winning again, 113-102. And it's
It
now,
looked a lot worse too, because he was projected to
yeah,
beat me by a damn near 25 points going into that Sunday night game too.
yeah, it was looking bad. But what kind of hurt Miles was just at the end was Tyler Lockett, obviously like getting hurt early. That wasn't that didn't help him out a lot because Tyler
And the
Lockett,
fact that I have negative tight end too.
yeah, you have Tyler Higbee who got him 7.9 points, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad. Because like usually any other year, if you got like 8 points from your tight end, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But just considering the stakes of this game, it was bad. And then he had Sam Laporta on the bench at tight end who had 8.9, but could have been better.
Flowers was the biggest one on the bench for me.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers had 17
Oh
on the
no,
night.
Tyler Algier, 24.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that too. Yeah, Algier with the 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
With Pierce in my lineup with 6 points, but it's all right. Not the best feeling to start out 0-1, but we still got a long season ahead of us, and
That's right.
I don't think even with my team not playing the best, getting 3 points out of Lockett, getting 6 points out of
Yeah, they can't be this bad again.
6 points out of Pierce, and still cracking over 100. Can't be too bad at it.
Yeah, like
And Hurts only had 12, so can't really expect all 3 of those things to happen again. And I stacked the Zay Flowers Odell Beckham combination to kind of see who would be the number 1 receiver out there. And Zay Flowers, I guess it is against Houston, and it is the first game of the year, so we'll see how he continues to progress throughout his rookie season. But he had a fine debut with 9 receptions, 78 yards. So hopefully he can continue that relationship with Lamar and carry my team to a couple more victories, especially as we have the 2 flex in this league, and my running back situation is not that great, and I just admitted that my tight end situation isn't that great. So having somebody on the bench, and in Algier's case, we'll see too, because he looks like he might be a touchdown vulture against Bijan.
yeah, right now it looks like they're splitting carries, but I do think that by the end of the season that will be the complete opposite. I do think by the end of the year, Bijan will be getting all those carries.
I don't know. I think it'll be close to 50-50. I think Bijan will play more passing snaps because he could be utilized as a weapon there. But I think goal line and probably third down will
Oh yeah,
be
it'll be Tyler Algier.
will
Or
probably be Algier.
Cordell Patterson when he comes back.
Yeah, true, because he wasn't active for this one, so we'll see how that plays into the mix too. But as far as fantasy goes, anybody on the Falcons not named Bijan Robinson, I would be looking to get absolutely out of.
Yeah, it's Kyle Pitts again. It's just not going to work out. It's until they get a quarterback. Don't expect anything out of Kyle.
It's not even that. It's just I don't think their offense is geared towards
for him.
Pitts or London.
Yeah.
Mac Hollins finished with the same amount of targets as Drake London and Kyle Pitts combined.
Yep.
Drake London had 1 target. Kyle Pitts had 3. Mac Hollins had 4 targets in this matchup. So anybody outside of Bijan, I'm looking to get out of if I have on fantasy, because I know it's only 1 game, and they did play Carolina, and they did have the lead at the end, so they weren't looking to pass the ball.
So we have a lot of years of evidence that show us it. Right now, it's just not a good time to pick Falcons players unless it's like you said. Unless it's Bijan.
Yeah, so we'll see as that moves forward, but definitely, especially like a guy like Kyle Pitts, I know people are always going to continuously be high on him going into the draft because we all see the ridiculous potential and the the dream of him being a matchup nightmare against linebackers and safeties. But so far as a professional, it hasn't really worked out. He's been kind of just an okay tight end and not anything spectacular, especially during in the passing game, which is where we would need him to eat for fantasy production. But yeah, I would be looking to get out of that because I had a couple of leagues where I had Drake London in my starting lineup and put up 0 points. So it
Yeah.
was pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, I same thing. I had T. Higgins, and like you said about terms of disappointment, it had 8 targets, 0 catches. I was just like, did I make the wrong choice on draft night? And I'm like, it's T. Higgins at the end of the day. Like he's a 1, he's just a number 2 on this team. But no, that happens, and that's the thing about fantasy. Sometimes it just doesn't roll your way. It just doesn't. Like there's days where everything can go right.
Yeah.
Everything can go right. Like you have almost 200 points. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, look at your team. And then there's also days where it's just maybe the most points you get out of one person is like 12.
Yeah, and that's why you have to look at matchups and try to project it out, and you have to be proactive in adding and subtracting from your roster. You can't just be letting it go and setting and locking it. You got to keep being proactive. So that's why after week one, is there anybody that you're looking to target as far as waiver wire or potential trades for guys that you might think are a good buy low option, potential trades for guys that might be sell high options? I have a
Yeah.
couple, especially because I think tight end is going to be a really, really tricky position this year. A guy that I'm looking for, and I don't think you necessarily have to use your waiver claim on, is Zach Ertz. I know he didn't have the best game, but he did have 11 targets in
Yeah.
the game, came down with 6 receptions. Not that many receiving yards, but I think Arizona is going to be ass all year. I think
They're going to be bad.
with Josh Dobbs not being the greatest quarterback we've ever seen play in a professional football game.
Yeah. And we'll have to
Considering
see
all
how
that,
they
I think
look
he's going to be
until Kyler
heavy.
comes back.
Well, I don't think Kyler's coming back. I would. What's the point? They're clearly trying to get the first overall pick. But I think that with Josh Dobbs not being the greatest quarterback, he's going to lean heavy on Zach Ertz, and we've seen Zach Ertz be very, very productive in the NFL before. So I
Yeah.
think that's a sneaky one, maybe a guy to stash on your roster, especially if you are questioning who you started at tight end this week. So I like that one. I think Tutu Atwell,
Yeah.
sneaky, especially if you have a league where there's multiple flexes, or
Yeah.
you have a wide receiver that did put up good numbers. He had over 100 yards today. Was pretty much the slot receiver for them. We know Cooper Cup is not going to play the first couple weeks, and we'd been if you played fantasy the last couple of years, we've kind of been waiting for Van Jefferson's role to increase, and it didn't look like it ever happened between injuries and just poor performance. And Tutu, a guy that they drafted with one of their very, very few draft picks they've had over the last few years, finally balled out. So I think, especially in a league that's very deep, I
Yeah.
would look to add Tutu, and especially because I like to look at these guys that are on bad teams that I think are going to be down a lot and have to pass the ball and can get you garbage time yards.
Yeah.
And then for another guy that I'm kind of looking at, I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily like going all the way after to get. Uh, Here, hold on, I just had it pulled
What
up.
about Puka from the Rams?
I don't hate it. I was gonna go another tight end. I was gonna say Irv Smith Jr.
Oh, I was going to say Hayden Hurst.
I like the Hayden Hurst one. I do like the Hayden Hurst one. Especially because he has the rookie quarterback, and I think rookie quarterbacks really lean on it. The only thing about Hayden Hurst is that I just don't like that Panthers
Yeah,
offense,
they're bad. And
and especially with the tight end, especially with their offensive line not being good, I think that they might use the tight end, to
to pass
chip and
block.
stay into pass protect. Just real quick on Irv Smith, caught 3 of his 5 targets for 17 yards. But he played 73% of Cincinnati's offensive snaps, which is the reason that I kind of liked it. And uh, we saw last year with Hayden Hurst, Joe Burrow was able to use him and especially get after his athleticism. But in a game, he never got more than 20% of the targets in a game. Yesterday, Irv Smith, 20.8% of the target rate.
Okay, so fair. That's a good one. I do have a couple of people in mind, just mainly two, because I did mention Hayden Hurst, but these are both running backs. So after yesterday with J.K. Dobbins, obviously Gus Edwards is a name to go out there and look. If not Justice Hill, because it looks like
Yeah.
depending on how they want to use them. It looks like Justice Hill will be the red zone back, while Gus Edwards will primarily be the back for long yardage to drive all the way up there. There's those two backs, and then also the way how Kellen Moore has that offense running, I wouldn't mind anyone going to pick up Joshua Kelly.
Yeah.
I think that could be a very, very good pickup for anyone. If they're looking for a running back, I'm going to submit a waiver claim for Joshua Kelly because I think he can be a very good back. I like the way how Kellen Moore actually has designed runs for the Chargers. And I like to think in most games when they have control, because their offense is better now. The offense is better. And they're not going to be asking Herbert to pass the ball all around the yard like last year. Now they have game plans to run the ball a lot more efficiently because he had Zeke and Tony Pollard. So he had to manage both of them. And if you can manage Austin Eckler and Joshua Kelly to get 200 yards combined, I love that in terms of that. So Joshua Kelly, Justice Hill, and Gus Edwards are definitely on my list. And then in terms of wide receivers, I really like Zay Jones again.
Oh, I'm 100% with you. The one thing about Zay Jones,
he will drop some.
Well, not even that. I was going to say with just fantasy in general, that means that Christian Kirk, we're all the way out on, and that's a potential sell guy. See if you can get anything for him, because I don't think that's going to work out too great for you there, because we saw Calvin Ridley come back. He had 100 yards in the first half of his first game with Jacksonville, and then it seemed like the primary receiver outside of him was Zay Jones.
Yeah, and I like the connection him and Trevor have. Like, Zay Jones and Trevor have like a pretty solid connection. I don't think it's at the level of Calvin Ridley and Trevor, because I think that one was on full display yesterday.
Yeah, so Zay Jones yesterday finished with 5 receptions, 55 yards, and a touchdown. And I would definitely sell pretty high on Christian Kirk if you can. See if you can get anything in value. See if there's somebody in your league that is maybe lacking at wide receiver and has a potential.
Because Christian Kirk could still have one of those games like he had that stretch last year. He's still probable of doing it, but we got to see at the end of the day.
Yeah, I just think it seems like he's going to be relegated to more of a slot role. So we'll see how that happens with Ridley and Zay Jones being like those primary go-to receivers on the outside. So I think that's definitely to keep an eye on, and we're definitely going to have more stuff as the season goes on and more targets to look at. We'll discuss some trades possibly. I mean, I have Tyreek in one league, and everybody and their mother this morning is sending over trade requests. So
yeah,
there's going to be a lot of
movement. How I told Myles with my friends from high school, I have Tyreek Hill. I said it yesterday straight in the group chat. I'm not trading Tyreek Hill. I'm not trading him. Like, yeah. You can send whatever offer. I'm not going to look at it. You can forget about it. If I go 0-2, then I'm going to set it in the group chat. The highest offer for Tyreek Hill by the end of the day gets Tyreek Hill. I want the deal done tonight. Like, that would be the thing. That's if I go 0-2.
I put in one of our chats that I'll only trade Tyreek Hill for Kadarius Toney. Just a good troll going, but it was a fun NFL week 1. We had a lot of different things going on. I mean, I can't believe the Giants really scored 0 points on Sunday Night Football to cap.
We thought they would be so much better.
To cap off a great weekend, and they had the bonus fact of they're playing at home the night before 9/11, and still couldn't even muster up any points for that game. Like, that was one of the worst football games I've ever seen. I get that, like, they were probably like pretty shell shocked after the block kick, and then the interception.
Everything just like hit him like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, but at that second half, they sacked Daniel Jones 3 times in a row. They sacked him 3 times in a row.
Yeah,
they finally got a big play, and they fumbled the ball.
Yeah, I thought the Giants' offensive line would be better this year, but man, either the Dallas Cowboys' defensive line was so good and so fast, or the Giants' offensive line is that bad. But I like to give more credit to the Cowboys because we did see the Giants make improvements this year in the offseason. Like, okay, you address some issues. You definitely address the speed element.
But can any of those guys catch the ball?
That would
get open?
That's the question.
Because Paris Campbell, I get it. Daniel Jones isn't that great.
Yeah.
But when the guy literally has to run for his life every single play and he puts the ball a little bit behind you, I'm sorry, fam, you got to catch it. Like, I'm sorry. There was too many instances of him trying to run for his life, and he still got off a semi-decent throw. Hit you in the hands, and the old saying goes, hits your hands, you should have caught it. But I get that they added some team speed, but they look terrible.
Yep.
And they have a
Well,
pretty hard schedule coming up, too. So I'd look out for the Giants.
yep. Guys, I will be right back. I just need to go take care of something. Myles, you could take over real quick, but I will be right back.
Definitely. And, as we move forward, we can look forward to what we have coming up next week in this NFL season. Definitely have another podcast for you guys coming up around on Thursday. Coming out, should be looking for that on Friday. But next week's slate, I'm very fascinated about this Ravens Bengals game because we had mentioned the Ravens running back situation with just a terrible injury to J.K. Dobbins. I actually feel for the kid after working his way back from that ACL injury, and then now this week going down with an Achilles injury. It's been a tough break for him, and he actually had 65% of the offensive snaps going into this game, and he had never finished a game as a Raven with more than 50%. So it looked like he was potentially on the way to being their number one back and having quite a good season there. But that's tough. So we hope him well. And then next week, Chiefs Jaguars, with Jaguars sitting at 1-0
I'm looking forward to that game.
after trying to lose that Colts game in every possible way, but the Colts just not letting them. The Colts just not wanting the victory, but the Chiefs having to try to come back and get their first win of the season. We'll see how their receiving room gets better if Travis Kelce comes back in that game. We'll see more matchups going into next week. 49ers Rams is low-key kind of good because I was not expecting the Rams to really be that explosive. I mean, we talked about our man Tutu, but I thought
Matthew Stafford looked really good.
that's what I'm saying. I thought the Rams were going to be one of the worst teams that we saw all year. So we'll see. We'll see about that one, and then of course we got Jets Cowboys and Dolphins Patriots. Dolphins Patriots will be the Sunday night game, but that Jets Cowboys game, that will be a fun one.
Depending on how tonight goes for them, but another
I
game.
still think it's going to be good. Either way, even if the Jets lose tonight, I mean, being 0-1 and needing to get your first victory in Dallas with the Cowboys coming off that dominant of a victory in New York the week before, I think it will be a good one. So
we're going to see if Aaron Rodgers is still the Holy Ghost for the Cowboys.
And then next week, of course, we get the double header on Monday Night Football with the Saints and Panthers, which probably will be pretty bad.
I have the Saints defense. I need them to ball out that game. I need them to get me 20 points.
I wouldn't be surprised. And then we have one of the most impressive wins from week one versus one of the most impressive losses from week one, with the Browns going to the Steelers to be the nightcap of that second part of the doubleheader.
You also have I think the Bengals play the Ravens that week.
Yeah. I mentioned it right where we were gone. Yeah, Bengals Ravens. I'm fascinated to see because we saw what happened with the Ravens running back room. With J.K. Dobbins, wishing him to get back. It's going to be tough after having that ACL injury and now
a lot of good
Achilles this week.
A lot of good matchups. I'm actually really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, it'll be a fun season. We just got through week one of the NFL season. I'm so happy we have football back. I'm so happy the Dolphins are at 1-0. Like I said, me and Angel will be back for you guys later this week with another episode. Breaking down, giving out our predictions for this week. Last week we introduced a new segment, my best bet of the weekends. Gave you a game. Like I said, I'll give you a bet for the Thursday night game. I'll give you a total for one of the games on Sunday, and I'll give you a side for one of the games on Sunday. Last week, unfortunately, only went 1-2, with the only victory being the Raiders plus 3.5 against the Denver Broncos. That ended up being an outright winner. That Patriots Eagles game, I don't understand how it didn't go over, but we're right there on the door line of that one for most of the game. 45 that finished at we had 48.5. So it is what it is. It is what it is. That Pacheco anytime touchdown score, that was more on the Chiefs offense than anything, because they just couldn't get into really the red zone so that we could punch that in with the running play. So we'll definitely be back later this week with some predictions, some bets that we're looking at, and some good fantasy advice. So send anything in if you guys are interested in, who you should start this week. Any trades that are sent your way, we'll give you, the best advice on that.
And if anyone in our league is watching this, note me and Myles are open up to trades, but just like send us a fair deal, and hell, we'll talk about it. We'll definitely talk about it. We'll try to see, and then obviously the waiver claim. Are you still gonna do your strategy? You wake up at 3 in the morning.
Oh, I usually don't waiver. I don't claim anybody, so I have
Yeah,
to wake up
no,
at 3. Yeah.
yeah. So Myles would say last year he wouldn't, so that way he keeps his waiver. He'll wake up at 3 in the morning, claim whoever he wanted, see if they were claimed,
Yeah,
get them, and then
100%. That's what I do every single year. You
if
got to
you do
grind it
not
out,
know
bro.
the
You got
word
to grind it out.
dedication, that's dedication.
You got to grind it out, bro. And I'm one of those people where I can wake up. I already know the person I want. So I wake up, look at the waiver order. If that person I wanted is gone, I go back to bed. So like I'm one of those people that can be up for 1 second and then sleeping again in another second. So
See,
it definitely
Miles has
probably
that gift. I don't. I'm like, what do I do now?
yeah, I feel you. I feel you. I could sleep for days, bro.
But guys, this was a lot of fun. We'll be back next week. Um, and as of right now, yeah, Miles is just having a little bit of a tech issue. But guys, don't worry, we will be back next week, and we can't wait to see you then.
Peace.